Hello and welcome to Just Onside. It's Sunday again. We always like to shoot on a Sunday now. Uh, I'm not really going to sort of talk too much about Leeds. I'm absolutely convinced you're going to ask me to talk about Leeds, but let's leave it. Let's leave it. Let's concentrate on other things. But before we do that, Owen, how are you?
I'm very well, Ayub. As you can imagine, the football is going as good as could be right now, so no complaints. But I'm in a good space. Yes, Sunday afternoon here, Sunday late afternoon, I should say. Very well. Weather's starting to turn a little bit, Ayub. So getting a little bit cooler in the evenings, which is lovely. But yeah, I'm doing very well. Looking forward to the whole kind of winter season, to be fair. Yeah.
Well, Arsenal are going to keep you happy. I don't know whether you can actually see it, do you know, over my shoulder.
hmm
Just for you, I've got the Arsenal game on, so I'm not sure whether you can see it pretty clearly, but I think that's
Yeah.
yesterday's game against the Burnley. Another comfortable, easy 2-0 victory. And really that's what I want to talk about. I mean, it's a machine at this moment in time. I mean, the Arsenal are. I mean, there was two certainties yesterday in terms of results. All the other games, well, you couldn't quite sort of say, right, you're going to be certain about the result. But there was two games that I was absolutely certain the Arsenal were going to win and Leeds were going to lose. Uh, so really, what I want to talk about is that this year it seems that there is absolutely nothing that's going to stop Arsenal. I think they're just, uh, I think, considerably better than any other side in this league at this moment in time. Liverpool have had a wobble. Man City are not the Man City of a few years ago. Chelsea sort of are there or thereabouts, but whether they have what it takes. So it almost seems like a foregone conclusion. Arsenal will win the league. That's what most people are saying. Is that something that the Arsenal fans are saying as well?
Yeah, I mean, look, from my perspective, when you've been an Arsenal fan over the last couple of years, where at least 2 of the 3 years you've come relatively close to landing the Premier League title, then you can't really take it for granted in the sense of, though, well, this is just a foregone conclusion. I think you can, if you're a Man City fan over the last maybe decade and you've won titles and you're in a superior position again this early on, October, November, then you might feel as though, yeah, we've been here before, we know what it takes. We can say with a level of assurance and confidence that we'll win this title come May. I don't think as an Arsenal fan you have that privilege, and I think rightly so. You have to respect the game. Uh, you might think a little differently. Let's say if they were to win the title this year, and then if they were in the same position this time next year, then you'd say, yeah, we've been here, we've done it, we know what it takes, we are the best team. So yeah, no, I don't think you can have that type of arrogance if you're an Arsenal fan and you haven't won the Premier League title in 20 years. There is nothing inevitable about this right now. What we can say, and I'm sure you'll agree, is that they are the best team in the league. Uh, their level of commitment to defending is what, for me, right now differentiates them from any other team in the Premier League. Maybe even in Europe to some extent, but Europe is just getting going, isn't it, with the Champions League? So, I mean, if you look at the way they commit to defending a Europe, I'm not saying it's not something we haven't seen before. Of course, we have. They have already been compared to the defense of Jose Mourinho when they conceded a ridiculously low amount of goals, if you remember. I think they've got a long way to go to be compared to that team. But their application and their attitude in terms of the desire to want to keep clean sheets is what may well propel them to glory this season because they are streets ahead of any other team when it comes to that level of application. Yesterday, first off, relatively comfortable. Working in second or third gear, Gyökeres, I thought, had his best game for Arsenal so far. Um, they probably should have really put it home and hosed. But Arsenal probably right now have so much confidence in their defending that they feel that 2-0 is an unassailable lead for the opposition to overcome, maybe even 1-0. If you look at the statistics, no goals conceded in October, no shots on target for the opposition for a number of games now. David Raya has been rendered obsolete to some extent. He's not really having to do much, which is how they'd want to keep it. Obviously, they're not going to have it their own way. They are going to find themselves in very difficult situations, of course. But right now, defensively, they're as good as it gets. They've taken it up a notch. I mean, you saw it yesterday. I don't know if you saw at the end when Burnley were countering the application of Declan Rice. He took the corner from the other end. He's the one actually heading out the transitional counter attack. For me, he's as good a midfielder as we have right now in the country in terms of form. Yes, Caicedo is is up there as well. But Declan Rice, all around what he's producing right now, incredible standard. So, yeah, Arsenal look have a lot going for them. Defensively, very solid. Attacking wise, very cautious. But I think it's interesting when you watch Arsenal, Ayub. I'm interested to hear your thoughts, and I will probably just stop you and pause. Do you think when it comes to Arsenal attacking, do you think this is a case of the opposition respecting Arsenal a great deal and i.e. sitting off, which means Arsenal are then having to always face low blocks? Or do you think it's also Arsenal just simply being too cautious in some of their open play? I was more for the latter where I thought Arsenal could be a little bit more quicker through the thirds. But then I also then have to give them a little bit of respect in the sense of, well, every team that comes up against them just packs 11 men behind the ball. And that's fine, no issues. You've got to find solutions to those. But where do you stand? Do you think it's a case of Arsenal? No, they should be a lot more gung ho, so to speak, or go for it in terms of speed of play, because they are more cautious than any other team that I've seen, at least a top team. In terms of the number of touches, I'll give you one quick statistic. I think Saliba last week went off at half time. I think he still had the most amount of touches in the entire game, or something like this, or was top two or top three. So it shows where some of the ball is being played. But where do you stand? Do you think it's a case of teams are probably respecting Arsenal too much, knowing if we do open up, this team's got the wherewithal to slice through us? Or do you think Arsenal actually are just generally a conservative team who thinks we'll get a goal? We don't think you can even create a chance. Where do you stand on that particular debate?
Sitting comfortably top of the table, why change it? I mean, that old adage, if it ain't broke, at the moment it's working. And I think what it is, I don't even think, I mean, I think that genuinely, I think when teams are playing Arsenal, I think they're beaten. I think at this moment in time, I don't think there's any team, and I'm talking about the top teams as well. I don't think there's any team that I think would be approaching playing Arsenal and thinking, right, we have a strategy to try and outwit them. Defensively, they're too good. Attacking wise as well, I think if you sit back, you know that at some stage they're going to pick you off. I mean, set pieces as well. They're so dangerous. I mean, obviously it was almost considered to be their modus operandi. I think that's not really being fair, because I think they're a much better side than that. I just sort of think at this moment in time, there's been teams in the past. I think the Invincibles. I think Chelsea under Mourinho, Man City in their pomp for about 4 or 5 years were a team that I think teams just accepted defeat before they even played. And I think this is an Arsenal side, which is very intimidating. I think they've got some really strong characters, and I think just carry on. I think I would like them to be a little bit more expansive, but really, why should they? It's a formula that's working, so why change?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, there's more than one way to skin a cat right now. And if they defend at this level, they'll win the league comfortably. Because they don't look like conceding too many opportunities, never mind chances and goals. And then you've got to face probably the best keeper in the league. So it's not they've got a lot going for them. You mentioned if they're an intimidating bunch. They're physically intimidating in the sense of Calafiori. I mean, if you look at him up close and personal, he's a big unit. Playing at left back, he's having a good season. Timber's very aggressive, very combative. I mean, I watched Bogle yesterday, number 2 for Leeds, for that last goal. I mean, that's pretty soft defending, if you ask me. But it just goes to just goes to show. I mean, the levels in terms of. I mean, you want a right back who's aggressive, who's strong. He was. Yeah, again, far be it for me to harp on about Leeds, are you? But I mean, he's letting the ball bounce around his head, off his knee. I mean, what is?
Come on, leave it, leave it,
leave it. I mean, it was soft stuff. But no, all jokes aside, I mean, you've got the back line that's solid. Zubimendi, Rice. I mean, that's some spine. I mean, that's some back seven that you've got to try and penetrate. But Burnley, we're always going to find it challenging. Look, they've only lost once there in 18 months, that Liverpool last minute penalty. And they're a good competitive team. I know you've got a lot of time for Burnley, but there's levels to this game. And although in the second half, I thought Burnley actually were the better team, it felt as though Arsenal were like, we've got Champions League on Tuesday. Let's just see. I don't think this team can hurt us. And even then, they would have probably been able to go up the other end and take advantage. So, yeah, look, Arsenal right now are as good a team, or as good a, let's say, start to the season as they'd expect, or as you'd hope. They've got another away game at Sunderland, which they'll fancy to win. It's a promoted team, although they're doing really well. I think they play Monday, don't they, against Everton, and I think have a chance to go second, depending on how results go today. They'll fancy beating Sunderland because this is what Arsenal are. They have such confidence in their ability to withstand any kind of pressure. They don't really face any pressure, at least from these middling lower table teams that just seem, like you said, accepting their fate. So right now it's very good. There's nothing really to worry about. There's players coming back after the international break. Their squad's as good as it comes. I believe they've got one of the best coaches, managers in the world. I've long since believed that. But again, if you've not won a Premier League title for 20 years, you don't get to feel as though it's in the bag. Do I think they are the best team in the league? Yes, those two things can be true. But I think they'll just have to apply this standard that they are setting right now, this hungriness, this hunger that they're showing in terms of games, the desire to keep clean sheets. I keep going back to it. It's what you want. It's what you want your team to be. Like, don't yesterday when the free kick was given right at the end, I knew the game was in the bag because it was probably going to be the last kick of the game. But even I was desperate for that ball to stay out of the goal, because this clean sheets creates an aura, creates this kind of aura of invincibility. Teams start to think, bloody hell, creating opportunities against these lot is hard enough. Never mind a clear-cut chance, a clear-cut goal. And even then, Arsenal are good enough to score ones and twos. So yeah, they are the standard of the league right now. They're as good as they come. They're everything that you want in a title-winning team, which is very strong, very aggressive, have a certain level of intimidation about them, but with a sprinkling of stardust, which they do have. Gyökeres, I don't know if you saw him first off. It was really good, really, really good. Maybe the fact that he got midweek off just helped him recharge his batteries. He obviously got the second half off as well with a little muscular niggles. So yeah, listen, no complaints. They've got Sunderland away. If they win that, and if you look at some of the other games being played right now, you've got City Bournemouth today, you've got City Liverpool next week. So Arsenal will think, win that one, we'll have a little bit of breathing space. But I think this team's made of different stuff. I'll be very interested to see that when they do have that inevitable wobble, which will come because it's a season of football, an injury here, a bad decision here, an off day, which can happen. How do they recover? I think right now what they're most interested in is giving themselves a little buffer. So when that time does inevitably come, they've got a little bit. But yeah, no doubt, if you watch the game and eye test, they're the best team in the league, no doubt.
I mean, you talk about a wobble. I mean, I think even if they have a wobble, but I can't imagine them having a wobble because I think the standard that they're at now in comparison to, let's sort of put the two or three teams that you'd probably say are competing, Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City. I think they're considerably better. So in a sense, they can drop a standard and still be better than those teams that may be potentially looking at challenging. I think the gap at this moment is too much because I just can't see Man City, Chelsea, or Liverpool clawing the number of points that the difference is at this moment in time. It just is too much. I mean, I think if Liverpool were on top of their game, if Man City were on top of their game, then you could probably say, yes, they'll go. But the team that are more likely to drop points are the teams that are already 6, 7, 8 points behind. And that is why I think it's a foregone conclusion.
Yeah, I don't see it as a foregone conclusion simply because I don't think right now the gap's as big as it needs to be. I think last year Liverpool, when they were flying, absolutely flying, they won the title in the first 20 games. They won the title in the first 20 games. They gave themselves such a, I think it was double-digit lead very quickly that you thought, I mean, they're not losing games, they're not drawing games, they're winning plenty of games. The standard's so high, they're drubbing teams left and right, home and away, on song. So you're right. It always felt as though the other teams were scratching, clawing just to stay even remotely within touching distance. I don't think this early on you can feel that way. There's a gap. There's a small gap, but there is a gap. I think if Arsenal, I'm in agreement with you that if I watch the games with my eyes, for me, Arsenal look the more solid. Now, solid always gives you a base to win games. You know that. So in that sense, do I think Arsenal have the chance? If Arsenal keep this standard up, Ayub, they'll win the league at a greater margin than what they have today. Absolutely, there's no doubt. But they've got games to play against, obviously, their direct opposition. They look levels above what I would say middling to lower league teams in terms of just I mean, the two centre backs are at the top of their game. The full backs are really committed to defending. I don't think Arteta wants to change that back five. He's thinking, if I can play that back five in every single Premier League game, including the crucial Champions League games, that's his first choice. He's settled. There's a chemistry building there. So yeah, I'm with you, but I just don't expect them to be able to keep not conceding opportunities. It's a game of football. It'll happen, and they'll have some difficult times. And to be honest, it'll be interesting to see how they react when that happens. Right now, everything's hunky dory. They're getting some players back. I still think one or two players actually haven't even hit what I would say top form, as a Saka, maybe even one or two others. But they've got enough, what I would say, world class players playing at the top of their game that they can win this Premier League title. But I think it's a little early. I think if that gap, if ever it got to, let's say, 12, 13, then you'd feel as though, look, are the other teams 4 games better than us down the stretch? You would argue no. Not right now. You can't see it. But funnier things have happened. And again, this team hasn't achieved Premier League title glory in a long time. So if it did get tight down the stretch, who knows how they'll react. But yeah, so far so good. Game as it if they just take game as it comes, it should be fine. The other one little compliment I'll give them is they are definitely getting that aura of invincibility where, to some extent, they've not achieved anything. Let me make it very clear. But I do know how probably opposition fans would perceive it right now, thinking there's no way Arsenal losing to Burnley. No way. It's just not happening. Same perhaps the week before, same perhaps the week before. When they're playing certain teams, you don't think Arsenal could suddenly find themselves 2-3 down or something like that, having to like recover a bad situation. It'll probably happen at some point, law of averages, but I think that's feeding confidence to the entire team, squad, playing staff. So yeah, so far so good. Long way to go. If they keep playing like this for another 10 Premier League games, that gap will be wider for sure.
I'll tell you, Arteta's caution, his very conservative and pragmatic approach is impacting you as well. I mean, if ever Arsenal fans should be buoyant and optimistic, it should be now. I can't see. I mean, I think the gulf in class between Arsenal and their competitors is just too great. And I think even with a drop, I mean, and you're absolutely right. There's some players who perhaps haven't hit peak form yet. So once they hit peak form, it I can't imagine how even more invincible this team's going to be. So I just think it's a done deal. I think the competition is a little bit too poor this year, and Arsenal are just absolutely flying. So just one sort of question I want to ask. You obviously remember the Arsenal Invincibles. If this side was to play the Arsenal Invincibles, who do you think would come out on top? Because I mean, this is a very, very good side, and obviously the Invincibles are known as the Invincibles for a reason. So who would you put your money on?
That's a really interesting question. I hadn't really thought about it too much. I mean, that Invincible team has the accusation leveled at them that they had one too many draws. I think they ended up with middle 80 points. I'm not sure exactly. I'd have to double check. But I know they had a number of draws. I think it was 26-1, 12 draws, if memory serves. So that's what, 52, 68. Anyway, my math's unsure. I'm not sure. But the point is, uh, it's a difficult one. I think Henri is the game changer, isn't he? I mean, this team doesn't have an Henri, not even close. And Henri would be the one. I think everywhere else, I would argue this team's got the edge in terms of, and we've got to be careful when you're asking this question. We're not talking, achievements. We're not. You're simply talking about a game of football in terms of who wins. I think as a game of football, I think it's perhaps this team in terms of just from start to end. I still think even for accounting for Henri, this team has. It's just they take in a sense your punch away from you, so to speak. I don't know how to explain it, but they always seem to be the ones who have most of the ball, and they also seem to be the ones comfortable out of possession as well, if that makes sense. So they don't. It's as though they make you impotent to some extent. You know, Burnley yesterday. I've watched Burnley. They do have more than what they showed yesterday, but it's as though the other team thinks we're not going to get the ball. They'll knock it around us. They've got Rice running up the pitch. Gyökeres again had a great season. The two centre backs, you're thinking I can't get any change out of them. Now, if there's one guy who's going to get change out of any centre back, it's going to be Thierry Henry, best player in the Premier League history. But I would probably give the edge a little bit to this team just because I think from 1 to 11, I think they have the ability to, again, take your best punch away from you. Again, Henry is that game changer, and this team obviously won't go unbeaten. They've already lost the game, but yeah, I think to some extent maybe it's recency bias. But I think this team may well have the wherewithal, especially tactically. That team was still a little bit more, what I would say, aggressive, which means if you have these two teams playing one another, let's say 10 times, I think this team perhaps edges it maybe six or seven. But yeah, fascinating question. What do you think?
That's interesting. I mean, it will be a monumental battle. I mean, obviously it's never going to happen, but it will be one hell of a game. I mean, Wenger's Invincibles were much more expansive. I think they he played on the front foot, and I think the intention was to be aggressive and to take the game to the opposition. This game is, I mean, this team. This current Arsenal side is much more pragmatic, and it would be hard to break down. I think you're absolutely right. I think even with uh, uh, the likes of Bergkamp, the likes of Henri. This is a very, very disciplined side. And I think they take defending extremely seriously. They've got the best back five. I go as far as saying probably the best back five that's ever played in the Premier League. I mean, there's a strong argument for that. It would be one hell of a battle. I'd probably edge it for Wenger's Invincibles. I just think there's probably, I mean, Henri was just a magician. You had Burkamp, you had Vieira as well in the middle of the peak, Manu Petit. So they had sort of enough there. But it it would have been, I think, a moment of brilliance probably from Henri that would have sort of given him the edge. But my goodness me, it would have been one hell of a game. So I
Yeah.
sort of go for. I mean, it's just maybe perhaps it's more I like perhaps more expansive football, so I'm perhaps sort of leaning towards that. But it's there's no way that it would have been easy for either of the sides because I think there's so much quality.
Yeah, just one final comment. It's a fair point. I'm not going to battle against you on that one. You asked me many times, Ayub, about Arteta and we spoke about even previous managers and how I said it's not that I believe he's an incredible coach or an incredible manager, which I do. It's also because I said I'd want him to be the one that takes this team. It's a personal preference. It wouldn't feel the same for me if, let's say, he fell short and they've changed it around, and let's say another manager won it. Yeah, you'd be happy, you'd be delirious. Of course it would. But there is some romance within football, at least within me anyway, that there's a sentiment to say, no, I want this manager to take us to the promised land because I think he deserves it. And there's something about Arteta which I think goes a little bit not say unnoticed. Before he was a what I would say, very aggressive on the touchline, too many antics, if you ask me. I think he's toned that down. Does he still get out of his box every now and again? Of course he does, but then most managers do, in fairness. I think he has worked on that in terms of, but he genuinely, he plays every minute of that game. He never sits on the touchline. You'll notice he'll always be out there 95 minutes, bellowing his team to get back in the transitional situations, offering tactical advice. Some might say that's too much because I'm also a big fan of just listen, stay calm on the touchline. You've given instructions. But you can tell how desperately this is a man who's had multiple setbacks in terms of, and he's under massive scrutiny. Yes, he's had support and backing, but yet he's there kicking and screaming every football, every game, every minute, knowing how significant a 3 minute period can be in a game or a 2 minute situation can be in a game, or he sees dangers before they arrive. That's the manager that you want, who you can tell he genuinely cares about the game. He genuinely cares about taking this team back to the promise. And obviously, he was a player, so it means probably twice as much that it would maybe any other manager. So there's something about the romance within me that really wants him to do it for him. I wouldn't be probably happier for any other Arsenal stakeholder than Mikel Arteta. I'm talking players, whatever, ownership, all the rest of it, because I think he takes a bit of unnecessary flack in terms of where he stands within coaching circles, and it's fine. I mean, who cares where you stand within best coach in the world, worst coach in the world? It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. But I do think he gets unfair criticism because he hasn't won as much, and that's fine. It's about pots and cups, as you always say, fair. But I'm talking just as attributes that you'd want in a coach: tactical awareness, tactical nous, how to set your team up. The fact that he truly, truly cares, you can see that on the touchline. Um, I really want it simply just for him more than anything else. And I wouldn't be one of those who, if they fell short again, saying, listen, I think we need a change of manager. No, you go again, you go again, and you go again until you finally get it done. So, yeah, let's see. They're in a really good position right now. they're in a good space, great squad, great consistency across the whole playing staff right now. They're balanced in terms of options, reserves. Man City, you feel as though it's because it's Erling Haaland. That's it. And with Liverpool, they're still going through a few situations. Big win for them. But Arsenal definitely the class of the league right now, I would say, and an opportunity to keep building. Got some tricky games after Sunderland, but right now, game as it comes every day, and they should hopefully be able to build a good lead at the back, at the top, I should say.
Yep. And the only reason I think Arteta's a little bit calmer now is just the game's so easy. I think there's no tension because of that reason. I mean, let's see if there is uh, a close, tight game where maybe there's a decision that goes against the Arsenal. Let's see his reaction then. But right, enough about Arsenal. Let's just have a quick recap of what's happened yesterday in terms of some of the games. Now,
Only
we've
one
obviously
place to
talked about.
start. Only one place to start, if you ask me.
No,
Yeah,
that was too predictable.
oh, come on, let me set you up. I mean, we've got to go to the Amex. I mean, look, uh, probably one of your toughest days as a fan this season, I would imagine. I didn't watch the game for obvious reasons, same time, I think, as Burnley Arsenal. But I followed the game, I watched the goals, watched the highlights, all the rest of it. I checked the statistics. You actually edged possession, but what, 5 shots, two on target, XG of 0.5, 0.6. So you got what you came for, 0 goals. But a chastening day in terms of just the gulf there seems to be. This was probably one of those few rare games leads where they've not competed this season. And you were worried after the last game, Ayub, the fatalist that you are, but maybe perhaps with more substance this time around because the evidence on show yesterday was a team that may well be subjected to a relegation battle. How did you see it? Goalkeeper for the first goal, please take us through that, as well as the right back for the last goal. I mean, some shocking defending, but where do you stand with Leeds? You must be deeply worried right now.
I was worried before the game. I mean, I've been worried sort of large parts of the season because even when we were competing, we weren't getting the results. Now that should sort of alarm bells should be ringing because if you're competing but still not getting the results, you're sort of thinking at some stage you're not going to be able to compete on the levels that you have. And when that happens, there's no way you're going to get a result. Now, exactly what happened yesterday. I mean, we were just not at the races. I mean, I don't even want to sort of focus too much on Perry, the keeper, Bogle, because it was an all-round real insipid performance. It was really poor. Uh, we didn't lay a glove. We didn't lay a glove. I think the first shot on target, I think, was after 80 minutes. We were 3-0 down by that. And Fark come out with the most utter crap that I can imagine. I mean, he was actually sort of saying that he was impressed by the attitude shown when we were 3-0 down, that we're still sort of fighting. I mean, that's the sort of nonsense that this idiot sort of comes out with. And I mean, I will sort of hold some criticism back because he's not been supported by the board because the players that we have just aren't Premier League quality.
Yeah,
But it's as simple as that. I mean, there is absolutely no way. I think our wish or our sort of hope is uh, that there are three clubs who are going to be worse than us. In terms of personnel, we have got the worst squad. I don't think there's any squad in the Premier League worse than ours. I'm just hoping that I mean, Wolves. Uh, I am surprised because I did see them against Tottenham a few weeks ago, and they were quite impressive. They were really, really impressive. They've got still some talented sort of players there. West Ham, I keep on thinking are going to arrest the slide, but it's not happening. Forest, Big Daishi's there. Really good result yesterday. Well, I mean, some people might sort of say, "Well, look, they dropped a point. They dropped from a winning position." But
mm,
there's good signs there with
yeah,
Daishi there. So I'm absolutely convinced that you'll see them rise out of the relegation. I just think we're going to get sucked in, and I think once we're in the bottom three, we won't go down. Absolutely, because who can we win? Who can we beat? We couldn't beat Burnley. They beat us quite easily. West Ham, we just won. I mean, we played quite well in the first half, first 50, 60 minutes, but thereafter we were on the back foot against probably a team absolutely bereft of all sorts of confidence. So that's why I'm just thinking there is absolutely no chance. The players that we have, there is nobody. You look at uh, DCL, he's not going to score the goals that are going to keep us up. When we were last in the Premier League, we had a sprinkling of gold dust in Rafinha. And sometimes that's what you need if you're one of the teams
Mm,
fighting relegation. You
yeah.
need at least one or two players with that bit of magic. We just don't have it. We've got industrious players, or we've got likes of Longstaff. He's not going to win you games. He might keep you in games, but he's not going to win you games. DCL, he's never going to win you a game. So I it was a strange feeling yesterday because I mean after the first 5-10 minutes when they scored the first goal, I was resigned to a defeat. And it wasn't painful because I expected it. And I just sort of think that Fark, I think, won't last until Christmas. And then I don't know who we're going to get because the players aren't there. We haven't got the caliber of players to keep us up. So I think we're down. And it's an absolute travesty by this board because this would have been a wonderful opportunity. I think this is probably the a Premier League where the relegated sides, if they'd invested wisely, like Sunderland, had a chance of staying up. Uh, Dereliction in duty by the 49ers will go down and deserve to go down. And really, in one sense, I'd be happy because the 49ers have absolutely let the fans down.
Yeah, I think I'm not going to say you're wrong because you're right. The performance yesterday was one that doesn't leave you with any confidence. And you spoke about Rafinha, a sprinkling of starters. Wolves are as good as an example of that. They lost El Nouri and Cunha in the summer. Those are two players that were key for them to stay up last season. You take those two players out, and you're now left with a team that's winless and have just sacked their manager a month and a half after giving him a contract. So they've sacked him today. Inevitable, to be
Oh,
fair.
have they? I didn't know that. That's
Yes,
breaking news. I didn't realize.
yeah. You say breaking news. To be fair, he got fired the moment. I would argue Wolves went down to 10 men yesterday. I said to my son, he's going to get fired tomorrow. Watch. Inevitable, inevitable, inevitable. Let's see. But it is the case. I keep saying it. You're in the Premier League right now because some of the other, especially the promoted teams, are making such a good fist of it. And listen, Leeds are still outside of the relegation zone. This time, you would have put your house on them being in the relegation
Hmm.
zone right now. They're not now. They may well soon be, but they're not right now. And it's because Burnley still compete in. Scott Parker's a good manager. Leeds are still scrapping, and Sunderland are obviously got a chance on Monday to get back up into top two, top three, whatever it is. These teams are going to be panicking. The Wolves. I mean,
Hmm.
this is 6 weeks after giving him a 3-year contract. But
Yeah.
what does
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
mean? It just means he's going to get a good payout. So, yeah, look, you see it. I would still keep an eye on Nuno at West Ham. I know he's been in the job 5 minutes. Don't be surprised. This is West Ham Football Club. Can give it 3 more games. If they don't show any signs of improvement, you know, and I know they'll be looking for another manager because right
Hmm.
now owners are scrambling just to stay in this Premier League because of the riches on offer. Now, again, Wolves. Let's see who they hire. That'll be interesting. They are what 8 points adrift. Are you? That's some going. That's not easy to turn around, in my opinion, in this Premier League. So I'm not necessarily saying that Leeds are down. I just think they probably need to get to January and then really assess. Listen, we're in probably a better position, or maybe where we expected, or worse position, whatever it may be, and see if they can then go into the market and buy. I've never been a big DCL fan anyway. And some of the defending yesterday was just shocking. But let's hope it's just a bad day at the office. I still think I wouldn't put Daesh. I mean, they lost what last week. I wouldn't necessarily say that just because they've got Daesh. Yes, they competed well yesterday, but you're going to get some bounce. Those were their first goals at the City Ground, I think, since opening day. So still a lot of good work for Nottingham Forest to do. Although, like you said, they competed well. But I think there's still enough poor teams, Ayub, to keep you interested and maybe allow you to have a few tough days like you did yesterday and still not think that this is all a foregone conclusion. Yes, if they don't improve, it's a done deal. But I'd probably be a little bit more optimistic that they've got some opportunity just simply because there's other teams in a similar boat to yours. Just switching our attention very quickly back to the top of the table. Some key games yesterday. Liverpool obviously getting back to winning ways. Home to Villa. It was a midnight kickoff for us here in the UAE. Chelsea beating Spurs. I just want to focus on Chelsea just very quickly. I want to get your thoughts. I know Spurs have a few issues in terms of player availability right now, but I was very, very disappointed with their performance. I mean, even Thomas Frank spoke about it. There's a little bit of unrest coming out of the game with
Hmm.
players potentially snubbing him at full time. I know Chelsea, what do they call it? 3 Point Lane, or I know it's a new stadium now, but they always seem to beat Spurs and Chelsea are a very unusual team. They look like world beaters one day, and then the next day they look a little bit short, perhaps very inconsistent. But right now, how did you see just very quickly the game? And maybe like myself, you must have been very disappointed that Spurs just didn't really lay a glove on Chelsea.
It was the most comfortable 1-0 victory that probably there can ever be. Uh, Spurs just weren't at it. Chelsea would just, I mean, I suppose that's the only disappointment for Chelsea, that they should have had that game wrapped up, sewn up. They should have been 3-4-5-0 up. So that probably will be the only frustration. But they were far, far too good. And they are a dangerous side. I think Chelsea. I mean, speaking to my lad, he's he sometimes is critical that people are sort of thinking that Chelsea aren't sort of they're inconsistent. He says that Chelsea are playing really, really well. There's the odd hiccup, and obviously we sort of there was a result against Sunderland which didn't go their way. But on the whole, they're a side that's the curve is up. They've got some really, really good players. They'll be there or thereabouts. They'll be there or thereabouts. I mean, yesterday was a really impressive performance. Now Spurs are they're sort of hit and miss, but still to beat Spurs or to beat them so comfortably, albeit it was a 1-0
Yes.
score, to beat them so comfortably at the Spurs Stadium, it's an indication that this is not a bad Chelsea side. So I think Chelsea certainly are their trajectory is up. They've got Caicedo, who is, I mean, I think when he first went to Chelsea, there was a lot of criticism. I mean, we
Yep.
know he's a good player, but it seemed to not be quite happening. It's happening now. He certainly is worth that 100 million plus that Chelsea invested for him, and he's playing very, very impressively, along with a few others at Chelsea. Uh, Spurs, I don't know. I mean, it's Spurs, and it's the you never quite know what's going to happen with Spurs. I don't know. I mean, it's I, if they finish in the top half, that will be a decent return after what's happened last season. Uh, it's still in a transitional stage, I think. Spurs. I think Frank is the right man for the job. Give him this season just to put his stamp on. I think next season I'll be more inclined to look at Spurs and to judge them. I think this season it's as if they finish top 10. That's good enough.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with you, lad, when it comes to Chelsea. Forget the consistency, inconsistent commentary. When you watch Chelsea, they're a good watch more times than not. Uh, Perhaps right now suited to play away from home as well to some extent. I thought they were very good yesterday, played some real good stuff. João Pedro should have had a hat trick, easy, light work in terms of the opportunities that he missed that were presented to him. I'm fully in agreement with you about Caicedo. If he's not the best midfielder in the country right now, then he's definitely top two, top three. He's playing at a very, very high level. He's everything you want in a defensive midfielder. And I say defensive in quotation marks because he's combative, he's feisty, he's running, third man runs, intercepting, tackling, assisting yesterday, as we saw, which was a very smart assist, very brave assist as well. To some extent, and set up the game-winning goal. Chelsea, well, yeah, you're right. Comfortable yesterday, as comfortable as it could be. Spurs obviously missing some key players. They're missing some quality up the field, especially at the top end. Yesterday, obviously, it didn't go to plan with Bergwall going off so quickly, and then obviously, I mean, they had Kudus who was trying and lively, but
Hmm.
still, for me, it felt a bit haphazard, a bit too fast, a bit too quick. And I felt Chelsea were always going to be better because I thought tactically as well they were well presented to overloads. I liked how he was using Enzo yesterday as well. So you're right. Look, Chelsea are a good team. They went from 11th to 3rd, I think, with the win yesterday, or at least at that time, 11th to 3rd. So the league is still relatively bunched at this
Hmm.
early stage. But Chelsea can have aspirations to definitely finish top four. Could they be a sneaky title race challenger? Let's say they've got a bit of work to do. I think you'd agree before you count that. Right now, if I was to hold your feet to the fire, you just very quickly, who would be your top four teams right now in terms of predictions now that we're about 10, 11 games in?
Arsenal. Uh, I think second probably will be Chelsea. I think Man City and Liverpool probably finish well. I mean, I say Liverpool. I mean, I think yeah, yeah. I'm going to go Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City, Liverpool. With Man United. sort of there or thereabouts. I mean, they're I think they might just sneak in into that top four. Because I think they've turned a corner, albeit yesterday. I mean, it's only a 2-2 against an indifferent Forest
Yeah.
side, but the fact they came back is an indication there's something there. There's a spirit, a new spirit. But just before we go, I just want a quick sort of your thoughts on Liverpool. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it obviously must have been a really, really late game, so I presume you didn't watch the game. But I mean, I watched the game, and it's against an inform Aston Villa side. I mean, Aston Villa have had a sort of shaky start, but they've picked up. And it was quite good, enjoyable watch. I mean, it could have gone either way. I mean, there was mistakes, uh, which and it was a mistake that led to the first goal. And but it was there were certain players that I was impressed with. I think Salah, we've been critical. I've been very,
Yeah.
very critical of Salah. It was the best game that I've seen him this season. At least for the first 60 minutes, he sort of tailed off a little bit. I mean, the first goal as well. I mean, it was it's maybe a couple of games ago, he would have
Mm.
thought about it. Maybe he might have sort of
Yeah.
touched it, or maybe he might have tried to play it with his left foot. This is the Salah of old, instinctive. He had to play it quite quickly because obviously, I suppose
Yeah. Yeah.
any dithering would have given an opportunity. Stroked in with his right foot. It was a difficult finish. I mean, I think people, it's on his wrong foot, and he's not got the best of right foots, but it was a
Yeah.
really, really nice, tidy finish, indicative of the confidence that he must have been feeling because he was playing really, really well. I wouldn't sort of say Liverpool are back, but there were certainly good moments. I mean, I think the Gravenberch coming back, albeit it wasn't a great game he had, but he's quite essential to the way that they set up. McAllister played all right as well. So I think there are some good signs. Maybe Aston Villa perhaps should have been a little bit more direct, but I think there are good signs, but still a lot of work to do.
Yeah, it's a good summary from your side, especially on Salah. You're right. He looked sharp. He looked quick. Every time the ball went to him, he didn't lose it in let's say as consistently as he has in recent
Mm,
games. Like there were so many lovely little touches, running. The ball on his left foot also seemed like stuck to his left foot. So sometimes he
mm,
was cutting in and making good space for himself. So everything seemed. I mean, he had the ball like a shoestring in terms of just complete control, which is different to what we've seen in previous games where it felt as though sometimes he was fighting with the ball, just aimless balls into the box, really looking very average. And suddenly, all of a
mm,
sudden, he's got a bit of a pep in his step. Maybe this is what you want your leaders to be in difficult situations. Step up, under the lights, home, Anfield crowd, really wanting a big performance. And he produced that. And you're absolutely right with the first goal. It looks like an empty net spot.
mm.
And it reminds me a little bit of his goal against Everton last year when, right foot swinger, so to speak. Um, this one is a slightly more acute angle, but you're absolutely right. He's got to get it around the defender. He's got to have the wherewithal to hit it first time, get it on target, and good things can happen. I mean, it's a shocking error. And Villa were, to be fair, tempting fate with some of the
Yeah,
stuff they were doing at the back. I mean, some of it is risk reward. They got through the press a few
yeah,
times early on. Morgan Rogers running through, Onana running through. So it was an intentional tactic by Emery. I could see that in some situations where they were intentionally playing it backwards
yeah.
so they could get the ball to Martinez so that they could create those situations where he can punch it right through and then off they go. And you can do that against Liverpool. But again, Liverpool also know that it's risk reward. We all need one or two situations to go for us. You saw that early on with the Szoboszlai chance. I mean, again, shocking mistake at the back, then for the goal. So that's the price you pay. But Salah, I thought you're right, was different class and maybe similar to what you said against Brentford. I mean, he was poor overall, but the goal is still that kind of instinctive class. If you remember against
Mm.
Brentford, touch, bang, even if he's swinging. And listen, sometimes you don't need to overcomplicate it. Get it on target, good things can happen. So, yes, big performance from him. I thought over the course of the game, then Liverpool started to show their superiority, played quick through the lines, the goal as well for Gravenberch. Yes, I think there's a little deflection, but again, when you're going through the thirds and you're trying things from 20 yards out, good things can happen. We've seen that.
Mm.
So they needed a win. They didn't really need a performance per se. They just needed a win to arrest the slide in the Premier League. They're back in amongst it, at least at the top end of the table where they want to be. They've got a big, big, big game next week where they'll want to
Mm.
go into the international break with some momentum. So they'll want to not lose the game, let's say. If they would find a way to win, I think it's at the Etihad. If they find a way to win, that'll really set them up to say, look, we're back. We've got players coming back. Isak
Yeah.
will be back. And I keep coming back to this. Liverpool right now, the biggest issue that I see for them at times still is, again, not enough conviction in their defending. And I mean, as a team, like out and out team, over my dead body, you're getting through as type of defending that you need to win titles. Titles are tough. Liverpool made
Mm.
it look somewhat easy last season, but they are still tough. It needs in-game application for 97 minutes for 38 games. If you do that well enough, you've got a chance. Doesn't mean you win it, you've got a
Mm.
chance. Those are the standards you have to set. It can't just be easy. Liverpool have just tailored or tapered off those standards right now. I still think in the second half of the season, if they can get some players firing, I wouldn't be surprised to see them kind of have some sort of resurgence, whether it's in the Premier League, whether it's in the Champions League, whatever it may be. I do see this as a team that's maybe getting better. Now, they've got some flaws very quickly that I don't think can be fixed. I don't think the fullback areas are of the highest standard. Bradley's is as honest as the day is long,
Mm.
but I'm talking out and out quality. And again, that can be either defensive or offensive. I don't think he's defensively amazing. I don't think he's offensively amazing. So for me, it's like, what is
Mm.
he? You need to hang your hat on one of those. Similarly, they've got issues on the left, although I thought it was a fantastic decision to get Robertson back in at a time when they needed it.
Yeah.
So look, it's a win. It's a bit of feel good factor. They're the champions, so you have to give them that level of respect. They've had an almighty wobble. And the only way they can fully shake that off is if they avoid defeat next week. If they lose next week,
Mm.
it'll still be a lot of not criticisms, but still a lot of scrutiny around what can this team achieve this season. Right now, they're a level below Arsenal. I think that's fair to say, just in terms of your eye test, which for me is still the most important barometer when you're judging teams. But today was just, or yesterday was just about winning the game of football, and they did that in front of their home crowd, especially like you said, you imagine they drew that game or lost that game, and then
Mm.
you go into Etihad. I mean, now you're talking, 5, 6 on the bounce. You cannot recover. You cannot recover from that. So let's see. I think second half of the season, this team can go on a bit of a run anyway, just because I think players bed in and you have better
Mm.
transition, better chemistry. But right now they're just finding themselves, but still at the top end of the table. So nothing lost still this early, I would say, in November.
Right. That's our roundup. I mean, obviously there's still games to be played today and tomorrow, but
What do you
that's
think
our
quickly?
roundup.
City Bournemouth, Ayub?
I
It's a good game to watch.
It says, yeah, it should be a good game. I mean, they're two good sides. I mean, not. I don't think Bournemouth will be intimidated by Man City, and rightly so. But I just sort of think I'm not going to sort of say City have turned a corner because they haven't, but I just sort of think they've probably just got a little bit extra quality. I mean, I say a little bit extra quality. They've got Haaland, and as long as you've got Haaland, you're always going to be in with a shout. So I think they'll probably
Correct.
just edge it. It's not going to be an easy game, but they'll edge it. And it is a must win. I think they just can't afford to drop points. So I think they'll be going in with the intention, right, we just can't slip up. So I'm looking forward to that one. It should be a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. Same here. Should be a great game. Really looking forward to it. Bournemouth, again, a coach that's done a fantastic job. You're a huge fan, and
Mm.
for sure he's got to be primed for a big job at some point. I mean, to lose as many players as he has, especially in that back line, and still be punching at the top end of the table,
Yeah.
you worry about what might happen with Semenyo in January or something like that if someone picks him off. But a really good job done there by the manager. A fun team to watch, an exciting team to watch. Always in good games of football, bit similar to Chelsea to some extent. Fascinating game. You're right. City need this win. They need this win. They've obviously already lost some ground, but a fantastic. It should be a fantastic affair. Just very quickly, also, just do you agree with me? Just before we really do finish off, in terms of the West Ham situation, I see it. I could see it where if it doesn't improve in the next 2 or 3 games, we could have another situation like Ange Forest for Nuno. Only because it's been so dire. It's not as though
Mm.
they've been a bit unlucky or they've had some injuries or they look well short, and I mean well short. So how do you see that? Do you see that as though no, they'll probably stick it out till Jan, or do you see themselves saying, you know what, if this doesn't arrest itself quickly, we might have to make another move? What do you think?
Uh, I think the precedence has been set by Forest, and I think clubs will probably sort of do similar things. If they've brought in a new manager, they will expect to see. I mean, there is that new manager effect. Now, if you don't get that new manager effect, you're probably going to sort of think, well, hang on. I mean, the attitude, I think, uh, is something which is important. And I don't think they're really showing an attitude in terms of embracing Nuno. And I think that's perhaps that could be. the nail in the coffin. If they don't see an improvement in the attitude of the players, the board might just think, well, hang on, it's not having the effect. Whilst we'll sort of find somebody else. I think that's the way of the modern footballing world. You need immediate results. If you don't get immediate results, and the need to stay in the Premier League is just, I mean, as a financially, it's worth so much that you probably will do anything that you can do. If it means getting rid of two managers in a space of a short time, why not? If you think bringing manager number three in will get the results. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, I hope they don't improve purely for Leeds' sake, but it's it's not looking too good for Nuno at the moment, and long may it continue.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. I mean, it's a big game for them. I think they're at home against Newcastle, if memory serves. It's a big game. West Ham's a difficult place, I feel like, as for managers. I'm talking about home managers. You've seen that the crowd gets restless. It's not Upton Park as intimidating as that used to be. So I do feel as though it's one of those, and perhaps West Ham, because of their history. I'm not saying they have an inflated opinion of this. I don't mean it. I mean it in a respectful way. They perhaps think, listen, we're a big club, we're West Ham, and all the rest of it. Whereas often they are perennial kind of relegation battlers, so to speak. And I think that's what maybe gives managers a really difficult time because there's this kind of embracing of the identity of who you are. Are we a club that's okay just to be 17th? Or are we a club that should be fighting for, let's say, top 10, top 8? Which is why I think maybe perhaps some fans' mindsets might be drifting to, which makes that disconnect with the manager all the more easy, let's say. So, yeah, I think he could be in trouble. He needs performances against Leeds that was woeful. They look short. They look well short of quality. They've got one good player. Again, I always say, thank God he married Danny Dyer's daughter. Otherwise, West Ham would be in real trouble. So, yeah, but look, let's see how it goes. Two big games today, in my opinion, for two very different reasons. One for a coach and one at the top end of the table. So, yeah, fascinating day of football.
Right, okay. Well, that's a wrap. I'll let you carry on with your Sunday. Enjoy what's left of the day. It still looks quite bright, so I presume there's a few hours to go.
It's
I'll get
bright all
ready.
year round, mate.
Oh, is it? It is
It's
bright
bright
here
all year
today.
round.
It's an exception today because we've had rain for about a whole week. Today's sunny. I think we've got rain for the rest of the week. So I took the opportunity to wash my car today. Well, I say I got the guy to come in. Gave him 30 notes. 30 English for the pleasure. All right. Okay. As always, great to speak to you. And the audience, as always, thank you for watching. We'll see you soon. Ta-da.